Welcome, everybody, to the Creative Literal Side Show. It's October 13th, 2019. I'm your host in Huntington Beach here, Huntington Beach, California. And today we have a special guest, Dennis from Ohio. And he will be running for Congress. And this is not his first time, but
President.
he's running Hi, Dennis.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm running for president.
Oh, you're
Dennis
president.
Lambert.
Okay, you stepped up. Okay, excuse me. Apologize.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have run for Congress before. I think that's what you got from my bio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before I introduce you and your bio, let me read a little bit about us, a little bit more about what we do here. We're sponsored by Worldwide Educators, wonderful Worldwide Educators, and like I mentioned before the show, Dwayne Hepner, our founder, writes these Facebook posts, Facebook groups every day, and this is one of the ones he wrote today, and it talks about what we're about and what we're basically it's a public service that we're providing to people, helping them to wake up. And actually, Dwayne is also running for president for the Green Party. So you two have something in common right away here. And I'll read what he says, and then we can get into what you're doing. You have not been taught that you have been here so many times before and doing the same old slave-driven routines for ongoing lifetimes. There is a much better way and a lot more fun once you learn to understand what I is presenting here for you to become more aware. You always have the choice with your free will to do whatever you want. But if you keep doing what you always have, then you will soon end up in the same place and forgetting once again that you were ever here. For sure, you have your personal life that is important to you. But is it more important than learning about being self-sufficient and having real freedom? To become self-sufficient and have real freedom is a huge journey, and so most unaware people will stay with what they have always known and continue to struggle and suffer on this planet Earth. There is a better way, which is a lot more fun as you take the time to get involved with what I is sharing. My real focus is the all-natural environment supporting all of us. I'm not promoting anything political, religious, spiritual, scientific, or otherwise, as I am merely trying to make sense here and having to deal with what is happening all over this planet Earth, and how most people are not paying attention to what really supports them. No one has to pay attention to all the pollution and poisoning and then actually do something real with what comes first to support all of us. But if you do step up, then you will begin to see a lot more. Through your involvement with the all-natural environment and what I is sharing, you will begin to become more aware and start to see beyond what you have known that is self-restricting and controlling you from others who use their self-invented agendas to rule over you and others. To have a real life, you must be a real risk taker and do what most people will not, because they are too afraid to. You always decide your fate and destiny. Okay, so that sums up a lot of what we do here on the show and other shows, and what we do in the community and in the international scene as well, and even the galactic scene. So welcome, Dennis. I'm going to read your bio here that you sent me, and then we can start in a conversation with you.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Trying to enlarge it so I can see. Let's see. Okay, Dennis Lambert was born in Columbus on March 1st, 1974, which was the 171st anniversary of Ohio's acceptance into the newly formed United States. Dennis grew up in West Virginia with his three brothers and his sister, raised by his mother, Victoria. In 1957, the family moved to Ashland, Kentucky to try for a better life, and Dennis graduated from Paul G. Blazer High School in Ashland, then joined the Army, serving 8 years active duty and Army Reserves. Vicki started back to college and finished with her college degree 6 months after Dennis graduated from Ohio University with his associate's degree in electronic media. After a year of teaching video production and building the computer network at Portsmouth City Schools, Dennis moved to Columbus and worked in television and independent film for 10 years before returning to Lawrence County to complete his bachelor's degree at Ohio University Southern in 2010. While earning his degree, Dennis began extensive independent study of the Underground Railroad, reading over 30 books and researching 20 years of newspaper articles and presenting his research to Ohio University during their Student Creativity and Research Expo, which won several awards in 2009 and 2010. I'd really like to cover some of that when we be talking to you, Dennis. That seems very interesting. I've always been interested in that too. In 2010, Dennis Lambert ran as a Green Party candidate as the 89th representative for Ohio State House and for the 6th Congressional District in 2014. Each time Dennis has run for office, he has gained more and more support and has proportionately spent less per vote than his opponents. For the last 6 years, Dennis has worked to help veterans with benefits, employment, or other services. That has worked with the Military Veterans Resource Center for the last 4 years in Chillicothe, sounds like Chipotle, rhymes with. His proudest accomplishments recently in working with veterans is placing over 30 veterans in jobs in the last 5 months and getting dentures, a water heater, and shoes donated to help his veterans. Dennis Lambert has been a member of the Southeastern Ohio chapter of the NAACP since 2019. Dennis also splits whatever spare time he has volunteering for veterans service organizations, healthcare advocacy organizations, and in Lawrence County Memorial Day Parade Committee, the Ohio Valley Environmental Coalition, and other Ohio Green Party. Just hard for me to read this. Dennis currently is living in Lawrence County, raising his mother and 2 small dogs and a garden even during spring. So welcome, Dennis, to the show, Dennis Lambert.
Thank you.
Yes, good to have you. We did interview another presidential candidate last week on Tim's show. This is Mark Charles. Are you familiar with Mark Charles?
No.
Yeah, he's running on the independent party, and we had a very interesting interview too. But I find that the people not in the Democratic Republican field have a lot, they're a lot more real with what's going on, and that's our concern too. What is really going on here? So maybe you can tell us about why you are running for president of the United States.
Well, I every time I've run for office, I've created some sort of influence over the campaigns of the opposition. When I ran in 2010 for the State House, I didn't get invited to too many events, but the one or two events I did get invited to, I found out later on that the Democrat and the Republican were taking up my speaking points. So knowing that, I didn't spend a lot of money, I got quite a few votes. I got over 3% of the vote every time I've run for office. But I've spent substantially less money, but that's because I've gone out and talked to people about the issues that really affect them and how what I'm running on will benefit them. So it just comes down to influence. If I can provide some sort of influence to create a better direction for the country, especially based on the issues that I'm running on, I think our nation, our communities, our world would be much better.
We're particularly interested.
I'm not. Real quickly, I'm not delusional enough to think that I will win, but I do think I could provide some influence. Well,
I think it's interesting. The Green Party, someone there posted that in winning isn't as important as providing awareness for people, and that's right. What we're providing too. So, what are you?
Look at the issues that the Democrats are running on now, the Green New Deal and health care for all. That's something that the Green Party's been pushing for 10 years or more.
What are your environmental positions? What is your focus, particularly in the environment?
Well, it's not in that bio there, but when I was in Boy Scouts, my Eagle Scout project was about recycling and reduce, reuse, and recycling. That's the 3 R's that we should be associating with everything we do in our society based on the amount of trash and just disorganized chemical messes that we're creating in pockets of land. So I've developed, and I'm still working on some of the kinks. I hope to release it here in the next week or two, a renewable infrastructure investment program that, in my opinion, it would revolutionize a lot of different things that we're dealing with. Energy generation, the way agriculture reacts to our needs as consumers, as well as the environment. Transportation systems will be affected. Really a really complex and diverse program that begins with recognizing first we have to, before we invest in our infrastructure, we have to look at 3 different things. One, is it safe? Number 2, is it clean? And number 3, is it portable? Can we use it in different communities throughout the United States? Because if it's safe, clean, and portable, then it should be adaptable to just about every community that we see in the United States as well as around the world. I definitely believe in climate change. I was one of the young people who was keeping on top of the ozone hole. When we started banning CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, from our aerosols, we started seeing a reduction in the whole of the ozone layer. So we know that if we take small steps towards mitigating and reversing a lot of these issues that we see with climate change, we will be able to reverse the effects. It just depends on how fast, how willing, and is the people really willing to do it. If we provide them with answers that will not only affect their environment but affect their pocketbook, I think that's the key to really solving a lot of these issues, because a lot of people are wanting that magical person to come in, wave a magic wand, and fix everything. They're expecting a one-size-fits-all problem, but that's not how the world works, and we need to look at these communities and invest in what resources that they have for developing a renewable infrastructure.
Yeah, I'll ask you one more question, and then I'll open it up to the other callers here. Do you see any role models or any communities locally or even in other countries that are doing something that makes sense with the environmental programs that they have going on?
I believe there's a lot of small things going on all around me, but it's not widely accepted until people can start seeing the benefit from it. Along 64, heading out east towards Charleston, West Virginia, there's a water plant that has solar panels that power it. After a few years, they realized how beneficial that was, and they added a few more solar panels to it. In Kentucky, not too far from where I am, they've converted a coal field to a solar field. In Athens, Ohio, there's a company, Third Sun Solar. They've been installing solar panels all throughout the communities around here. And then over in West Virginia, we've got Solar Holler, which they're developing a lot of integrated solar programs into communities, not just estimating how much they're going to use, but how it can be better integrated into their communities, into the existing infrastructure and the architecture of nature, instead of creating, mining. Strip mining basically will strip all the forests and everything off, and then go after the minerals underneath. We're seeing the same thing with mountaintop removal. With solar, we don't need to clear cut all these large areas to have solar panels put down. And honestly, with the Ohio Valley Environmental Coalition, one of the things that they've been working on is doing research into installing wind turbines on mountaintops along West Virginia, which would be another resource for energy instead of removing the mountaintops. And it just scars the earth. I've seen it from the air, and a lot of these coal people are saying, well, they're getting it ready for they can build a Walmart on that mountaintop now, because now they got roads and it's flat, but there's no people living in a community to be able to support this so-called infrastructure development that mountaintop removal provides. So, once again, if we look at what the community can provide, and here where I live, we have, quite a bit of the Ohio River that's not being used to generate any sort of electricity whatsoever. There's 28 dams, locks and dams on the Ohio River. 19 of them generate electricity, and only 2 of them generate electricity for anything beyond the locks and dams. If we can retrofit a lot of these locks and dams with hydrokinetic power, as well as the bridges, we could talk about free electricity for these communities, that we develop jobs for people to install and maintain these things, and it's just a source of income for these communities on a continuous basis that doesn't create chemical or biological waste.
Yes, thank you, Dennis. Let's open it up now to the callers and see if they have any comments or questions for you. So go ahead.
Go
ahead.
I have a quick question. Dennis, you're running for president, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, if I was going to vote and had a president enter office, the first thing what I would like to see happen in the first year of his presidency is I would like to see the banking system under control to where no individual in the country had to pay more than maybe not more than 3 or 4% more for a bank loan or credit card or a mortgage on their property than the banks are willing to give to a person in a savings account. So, for example, if you wanted to put money in a savings account today, they're giving you maybe 1 or 2%. And I would like to see the banking system controlled to where, if that was the case, they could not charge more than 5% to anybody in the country, no matter what their credit rating was, on their credit cards, auto loans, house mortgage, anything like that. That was one thing I would like to see. A second thing I would like to see the president do is remove all this poison they're putting in all the city drinking tap water systems, all this fluoride or whatever that poison they put in under the pretense of saving cavities for children. I would like to see all the water in every township throughout the United States gotten rid of all the poisons they put in the water. And I would like to see all the toxic chemicals that they put in the foods and everything else in the country gotten rid of. I would also like to see all the chemtrail operations stopped. Every time you look up in the sky and you see an airliner fly over and you see a white trail behind that aircraft, it's poisonous toxins or nanobots or something else that should not be going into our atmosphere. I would like to see all that removed. And speaking of dams along a water, there was a book written by Victor Schauerberger, who was the main manager of the Black Forest in Germany around the 30s in Germany, the famous Black Forest. And he wrote a book showing how every dam on any river anywhere in the world damages the ecology of the planet. Every single dam does damage to the environment. So I would like to see a study done where they remove every dam out there and let nature take its course and restore nature. So these are just a couple things I would like to see, and I got a lot more, but that's enough. I'd like you to comment on that, Dennis.
Just small things, right?
Just the small things, yep.